Welcome. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Kelly, and I share on my YouTube channel all sorts of stuff about physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well being. For this video in particular, what is coming to me a topic to share is I feel as though my audience, who I'm speaking to right now, is two members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Everyone else, you can all listen, because I think that what I'm going to say, which I have no idea what I'm about to say, but I do believe that it anybody of any system, culture, faith, all of the stuff that anybody could relate to and receive something from. There are certain topics that whenever I'm feeling compelled to talk about, that my nervous system, like, I just start to get really anxious with inside, because there are a lot of fears within me that are things that I've learned through the years, that, like, I'm afraid of what people will think, or that people will just it's an outer fear of what people will think. And so God is working with me. And he's helping me to work through these things, because it's something that I need to do for him, first of all. And as I speak and as I voice the things that I'm learning, it is also helping me in this process of healing a lot of things that are false within me, that he's showing me. So I was born into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So I have been a member of the church from the time I was born. And so I am now 51 years old. So I have been active within the church pretty much my entire life. I mean, I would say 95% of my life I have been an active member. There have been years and periods of time where I've not been physically active going to church, but I've always been spiritually active in my beliefs and in that system that I've learned and that I've grown up in. So that is my belief system. That is my culture. That is my worldview. That is my understanding of the premortal life, this mortal life, and the postmortal life. And there's a lot. that is a lot. So this has been my identity. It's been the labels that I've placed upon myself. It has been the structure that I have lived within to define right and wrong, and just everything. Like, this has been my life, and I have loved it. I love my church. I love my people. I love my experiences. I love the way that my foundation, there's so much about it that I love. And there is so much about it that God is beginning to show me is false. And that is so hard for me to speak out loud. Because what that does is, it is like breaking away and crumbling and shaking the foundation that I have my life has been built upon. And it's very hard. It is so hard to see, because my whole life I've only known one way. I've only understood one way of being. And so, like I said, I went through, I was born into it. So I went through the primary program as a child, learning the songs, having all of those seeds placed within me of deep stuff. I went through as a youth, through the youth program, through seminary, through the young women program, through learning about the values and all of the virtues, and just so much. I went as a child. I was born in 1974. So my youth was in the later, 70s, early 80s. Then my teenage years were like the 80s, early 90s. And so if you just look at life, the world, the culture, the teaching, just so much, like, this has been the way that I've understood this life and the world and God and Jesus and the Spirit and everything. And so I was married in the temple to my husband whenever I was turned 20 years old. And then I began to, just be in the church culture of serving, of callings, of, just giving my life, giving my time, giving my talents, giving my resources, giving so much to the church and to the people. And it has developed great talents, great abilities. Like, I have been able to see so many of my gifts, so many things through all the opportunities that I've had to serve within my church. So there has just been so much good, there's so much good fruit. I see so much good fruit. There's so many just good people who are just striving and wanting to be so good, wanting to be so worthy to have God in their life and to be close to Jesus and to have the Holy Spirit in their life. And there's just so many great programs. There's just such goodness within the church. So that has been my life. That has been the label that I've put upon myself. That has been my identity in this world. And so a few years back, I was deep in addiction. I was deep in just pain and suffering and shame and guilt. I was deep in just heaviness, depression, anxiety. I was so filled with so much pain and hurt. And I broke. I just broke. And I knew and I understood that I understood the answer. I've always known, I've always learned, I've always been taught the answer, but I never understood how to embody it. I never understood, like, I feel as though my whole life, it's like when anything goes on, well, pray about it. Pray about it. Read your scriptures. Go to church. Go to the temple. Do these things and check all these boxes and do all this stuff. But I still, and I have felt close to Jesus a lot of my life. I have felt his power. I have felt the power of repentance, the power of forgiveness. I have felt his power flow through me as I have created and as I have served and as I have done the best of my ability to do. But here I found myself at the bottom of, like, and so I can remember I shared a video about this, that I flew to the wilderness. I think that might be the title of the video. I had to go, instead of checking myself into a rehab or into a mental hospital or to something of this world, I knew that I needed to connect to God. I knew that I needed to connect to the Spirit, and that all these things, I've read all the books. I know the self-help. I know all the stuff. I needed what nothing in this world could give me except for God. And so I surrendered. I surrendered to God and to Jesus and to the Holy Spirit. Like, I knew that the way that I have done it my whole life, that it was not working. It was not working for me, because I've had the same patterns, the same behaviors, the same thought processes, the same ways of dealing with things, the same ways. That was not working. And so I surrendered to God. And in that surrender, like, he has taken me and he has been peeling the scales off of my eyes. He has been taking my broken heart that has just broke into a million pieces, and he has been healing it. And he has been showing me so many things about the way that I have learned and the way that I have understood and the way that I've been taught things. He's showing me so much stuff that is false. And it kind of freaks me out a little bit, because it's causing me to question so much. And as I question, and as I sit in the Spirit, and as I read my scriptures, and I am asking the questions, and I'm seeking, he's just showing me. And I'm like, what do you do with all this? Because holy moly. Because my whole life experience and the way that I've understood things about him and about Jesus and about the Spirit, so many things are so just not even them. For the past, it may be 4 years now, I don't know, time is just a crazy thing, but for the past, I think 4 years, I think it's been since like 2021, I started to meditate. And I mean, that is just sitting quietly and recognizing all of the thoughts, everything going on in my mind, and just witnessing it, seeing it, allowing it, and allowing God to show me the thoughts that are the recordings of everyone outside of me. My parents, my religion, society, culture, just this world. He is showing me what is false and what is not aligned with him. And as he's doing this, so much of my life is attached to my religion, to my church, to the way that I've been taught, the way that I've come to understand him. And I realized that I've never truly had a relationship with God. Not the way that I do today. I've never had a relationship with Jesus Christ the way that I do today. I've never had the Holy Spirit in my life like the way that I do today. And I was doing as much as I could to the best of my ability in all of my self-righteousness and checking the boxes. I looked like I was doing all the right stuff that I was told to do. And yet, I was still stuck. I was still stuck in all this stuff. I was still reaching and grabbing and trying to prove myself worthy enough to be able to have a relationship with God. It's like there was just all this stuff that was keeping me so busy pursuing him and trying to reach him that it was just busyness. It was just doing. It was performance. It was just all this stuff, and my mind was all in it. It was not a surrendering to the Spirit and just allowing him to show me. It's like I felt like I had to do something. and the doing something today is doing nothing. That is the absolute most miraculous part of it. Is so much is done, so much is shown, so much is healed within us by sitting with him, by doing exactly what he's told us to do, to be still and to know him. But we're so busy doing, trying to get to know him while we're running, and as we're running and running, we're just disconnected from him. We just have this block that is not allowing him to come in. We're not receiving him. We're trying to pursue him. He's pursuing us. He wants to be with us. He wants to walk with us. Like you think about in the Garden of Eden, and you think about like Enoch, and like you think about these prophets, these people who have walked with God, who have been with him, who hear from him. How are they any different than us? He wants us, those things are in the scriptures to show us the way, to show us that we too can have this. But we have blocked ourselves. We have created so many things that it's very comparable to the law of Moses. Like the children of Israel, they needed to be shown a different way because they were so caught up in the ways of Egypt. They were so caught up in the world, and God had to separate them, and he had to give them rules. He had to give them regulations. He had to give them this structure, this way of being, so that they would become closer to him. But what they did is they took all these laws, and they took all of these rules, and they became so obsessive. They became so judgmental towards themselves and also towards everybody around them. Like if we're not doing all these things, I mean, a guy, He's healed on Sunday, and Jesus tells him to lift up your bed and go. And everyone's like, he's taking up his bed on Sunday. Totally dismissing the fact that this man just rose up and walked away with his bed. They're like, oh, he's carrying his bed. We, as a culture, are doing the same thing. We are so caught up in the letter of the law that we have completely missed that Jesus Christ came and he gave us his Spirit so that we can be led by his Spirit, so that we individually, personally, can have a relationship with God, that we don't have to go through organization, institution, through a mediator, through somebody to get to him. We have direct access. That is amazing. That is so incredible. But how many of us are going straight to him? How many of us are spending our time with him and truly asking for him to be in our lives? We are so distracted in this world. We have just too much going on in this world that is distracting us from actually walking with God, from actually walking in the Spirit every day and receiving that constant inflow of the Spirit, that constant guidance. We're just too distracted. We carry around all of this weight. We have learned there's so much that is part of the culture, part of the traditions, part of false teachings. Like, we are a church of people. We're all teaching and talking and sharing and doing the best that we can with one another. I've been a teacher many times. I've stood up at the podium and I have spoken and my words flow out, and I always pray. I fast. I do my part the best that I can to hear the Spirit and to say what the Spirit would have me say. But I am immortal, and my own experiences, my own thoughts will come in, and I may say something incorrect. And another person can receive that because they want to trust, they want to have faith, they want to believe, and they will take these seeds into themselves, and then they grow. And we can be growing false teachings within us. And the incredible thing, like the scriptures show us, it teaches us that the wheat and the chaff, it's not just an outer thing. It's not just a separation outside of us of God's people and those who we're all God's people, but those who choose to be God's people and those who choose not to be. He is showing us that within ourselves we have wheat. Within ourselves we have that chaff. And when we invite him in to sift it, to shake us up, to show us what is within us that is true, what is aligned with him, what is correct, he shows us. He shows us the chaff. And he will also show us the root of it, where it came from, why it is even planted there, how it began to grow. And he is separating it. If we're willing, if we open ourselves up to him, he will separate it within ourselves and he will show us. And it's just so incredible. I love that. It is very hard to speak a lot of things, like a lot of things that are coming to my awareness about things that I have learned, things that were taught to me, songs that are etched within my being because I've sung them from the time that I was a child. Like there's just a lot of things that we experience in cultures, in churches, religions, societies, that is indoctrination. It just is. And I don't know why we're afraid of saying that, because we have to see it in order to eradicate it. We have to be able to name it to be able to change it. And so there's just a lot of things that are coming up that God is showing me that is false, that has come from man and woman. It's not, man is just humanity that comes from mortal people. He's showing me. And it can be, it's a process. Like it's freaking my nervous system out, because this is the only way that I've known. It's the only way that I've thought. It's breaking things away from me. And he has me right now, like I've had to disconnect from social media and from intaking and from listening to things, because I need to hear from him. I need to learn from him. I need to be able to differentiate the voices, all the things that I've learned, all the things that have been told to me. I've got to just learn from him and allow him to show me in my own personal life where I'm following false teachings. That doesn't mean that the church is bad. That doesn't mean that, that I'm turning anti-church or that I'm not going to church. I love church. I love my church. I am coming to recognize a lot of the things within it that are not healthy, that are not healthy for us spiritually, that's not healthy mentally and emotionally. Just things that are even part of the culture that's even unhealthy with our bodies. I mean, I could go down so many different rabbit holes. I could take this into so many different areas and talk about so many different things, because there's just so much stuff that is culture and not Christ. Christ is so simple. His way and his path is so easy. He tells us that he will make the burdens light and it's easy. And it's having faith. It's having faith in him. It's having the belief, that desire, the want to have a relationship with him. Not just learn about him, not just read about him, not just read the words in the scriptures that he spoke, but to literally sit down and to invite him into our life. To recognize when you are taking a breath in, you are breathing in God. Like he gave breath to Adam, and Adam became a living being. We would not be a living mortal being without that breath of God coming into us. And yet we feel as though like he is this way distant God out in this place that and yes, but at the same time, he will walk with us. He will talk with us. He's not a distant God. He's a personal God. We don't have to go through people to hear from him. We can hear directly from him. That is why we've been told about personal revelation. We can receive personal revelation. We can have that direct communication through the Spirit to our spirit. It is a miraculous thing. But how many of us take the time, invest in Him, and receive that? We're too busy. We are too busy checking off the blocks, doing the performance of it, making sure I say my prayers every morning and every night, and before all of my meals, and I pray a certain way, and I thank Him, and I ask Him, and I, say amen. We have repetitive prayers that is a check mark. We get in our scriptures. I got to read my scriptures at least 15 minutes a day. Okay, I read my scriptures today. Check. I checked off the box. I need to go to church this Sunday, so let me check off that box too. I need to go to the temple once a month, so let me check off that box. We're so in doing these things in our own self-righteousness. Every checkbox, I'm being self-righteous. I'm doing this so that I can prove to other people around me, and I can prove to God that I'm worthy. We're His children. We're His spirit children. Like, we're in this mortal existence. We are worthy. We disconnect, like, our worthiness. I've just had such a challenging time with the worthiness, because I have never felt worthy in my life. I've never felt worthy enough in my life. I experienced sexual abuse as a child. So anytime sexuality is awakened that early in a child, in those kinds of ways, shame, guilt, secretiveness, all of the stuff that is heavy, the depression, the anxiety, the fears, just all of that kind of stuff, it roots deep. So I never felt worthy, no matter what, no matter how many times I would go through repentance, no matter how many times, like, I never felt worthy. And there's so many things in this life that, we're just mortals. We have thorns in our flesh. We have weakness, and they're all there to turn us to God. They're all there to help us to realize that I can't do this alone. I'm not meant to do it alone. That's the amazing thing, is that God has given us His Spirit so that we don't have to do it alone. But what we do is we do stuff that is wrong, that is a sin, that is incorrect, that is against the Spirit. We learn all these things, we do these things, and then it creates that shame, it creates that guilt. And so then we're in this self-defeating condemnation, punishment, fear. Is that God? That is not God. That is adversary. That is all of the voices. That is all of the stuff that we learn, that, we have to be a certain way to have God in our life. And God is just like, I just want to be with you. I just want to walk with you. I want to show you. I want to show you how to overcome all these things. Not like you have to overcome all these things and then you get to be with me, but He wants to show us how to overcome them. Jesus wants to walk with us, to show us, to take the thorns out of us, to strengthen these weaknesses within us, that all these weaknesses that we were given, He wants us to see them. He wants us to recognize them. He wants us to work with Him, to process them, to strengthen them so that they become our strengths. I was, as a child, cut off from my voice. I was quieted. I was shut down. And as he is showing me, as he's working with me to heal this stuff that I experienced in my life, he is giving me a voice to be able to speak like this is for real, that that God is for real, that Jesus is for real, like he is the way. And his way is so individual. It is so uniquely for our own path with him. It's so amazing. I mean, it really, truly is amazing to me that I don't understand all of it, but that he's able to walk with each one of us, that his spirit is able to dwell within us, that we can have the mind of Jesus. Like, we can understand things that are so far out that doesn't make sense to our human understanding. He can bring things to our awareness, to our understanding, to our knowing. It is just amazing. I had to surrender my life. I had to give him my time. This doesn't just happen overnight. This has been years. I've been in this process for years. And as I sit with him, like it's really changed significantly over the last little bit of time, because I'm inviting him more into my day. I ask for him to be with me. I have made space in my life for him. Instead of being so distracted and so plugged in all the time to just all of the stuff, to all the social media, to just all the doing, I've had to create space in my life. I've had to say no to a lot of stuff. I've had to create boundaries in my life to protect the season of growth that God is bringing me through. And he is just showing me. He's opening my eyes in ways that are completely destroying, and not even destroying, but although he does destroy to bring new life, he does miraculous things to help us to grow. And so, why wait? Why wait until you are in the depths of, like, the depths of pain and hell? And why wait until you hit a rock bottom to change? He's calling all of us today to change, to turn our lives over to him, to stop with all of the extracurricular stuff that is so unnecessary. We just are so attached to so many like rabbit holes, or like we get attached to certain things and we hold so tightly to these things. And what is that called, where you just go off into so focused on these certain things, and it's just like we just gotta let go. Let go and let God. That's a slogan in the AA program. Let go and let God. Surrender. And it is truly one day at a time, one moment at a time. he just shows me as I'm going about my day, as I'm going about my life, as I'm doing the things that I do every day. He just shows me, he helps me to see my choices and what is being driven by fears and what is being driven by love and by growth and by health and wellness, and what is feeding these heavier, controlling, programmed ways of being. I have been extremely, I recognize today, extremely programmed a certain way. I have been extremely indoctrinated a certain way. And we all are. This is no different than the Catholic faith or the Baptist faith or the Pentecostal faith or the Muslim or the Buddhism or all of them. We are all conditioned to think a certain way, to be a certain way, to understand a certain way, to all of it. We're taught from this world. We are taught from men in this world. And I have recognized that my God has been my church. And I know that that could sound weird. But I was surrendered. My life was surrendered to my church, to following all of the rules that I was given precisely, exactly the way that they were given. And if something within my conscience was like, but I don't know about that, I still would follow. And I would have this feeling within me like, no, like something is just not. But I was so committed to and so surrendered to my church that I would override the Spirit. I would override that deep inner intuition and knowing within my spirit and my soul, because I was so committed and so surrendered to my church. That is where we have to look at ourselves and recognize that, yes, the church is a beautiful vehicle that is here to bring people to Christ. Is it? Is it bringing people to Christ, or is it bringing people into an organization? Christ is Christ. He wants us to bring people to Him. He wants us, as followers of Jesus, He wants us to bring people to Him, to bring people to His love, to bring people to Him. And how can we bring people to Him if we don't truly have Him? If He does not fill our heart and our mind and our soul and our being, if we do not wake up into our day asking for Him, inviting Him, wanting to be with Him, walking with Him, listening to Him, hearing Him, allowing Him to guide us, allowing Him to heal us, instead of all of these healing programs and all of these things that we just focus on, because I've done it. I am a self-healer. I am a self-helper. I have done so much my own way of doing things, and it is only through Christ. When we turn to Him, He heals us individually. He takes us the places that we need to go. He takes us to the churches that we need to go to. You know, I've begun to go to the Catholic Church with my husband, and it has opened my eyes to so many things that I just never knew, that I never even considered, that I just, because I've always just been in my own faith, my own traditions, my own ways. And so this has also opened my eyes up to so much that I just did not know. And he just shows us, you know, and I'm sure that I would assume there's probably a lot of thoughts and a lot of opinions and a lot of stuff that people think outside about my journey. And that's totally okay. He moves us to where he needs us to be. And sometimes it looks totally wrong, looks totally whatever it may look to our own personal judgments of our own opinions and our own teachings. And so we just cannot judge another person's walk with God and where that takes them, what paths that takes them through, what churches, what no churches, whatever. Like, each individual person, as we surrender ourselves to God, he's going to move us. And it could look totally crazy to everybody outside of us. And it's coming to the place where we no longer fear. We cannot fear man over God. And that has been a huge thing within me that I'm having to overcome, is letting go of the fear of man and having more that fear, which is that respect, which is that wanting to follow God, wanting to have him in my life. There's such a difference in what's driving us, you know, and as I turn to God and as I seek him and as I ask for him to be in my life, he's helping me to disconnect from that fear of pleasing man and that fear of saying the things that man wants to hear and being compliant and being obedient to a system, obedient to a way that I have learned that isn't all truth. And that's so hard for me to say because I've always just believed. I've just always believed. I've always just had faith in what I've believed in. And a lot of things he's just beginning to show me, and he's beginning to sift out what is false. And, you know, it's not diminishing. It's not taking me away from the church, but it is showing me what within it is not him. And it's so important, if we as a people are going to be purified, which only God can do, only Jesus Christ can purify what is his. We have to turn to him. We have to surrender to him. We have to ask to be able to see and to stop following things that are traditions, that are culture, that are false teachings that came from men who were doing the best that they knew, men who hopefully were following the Spirit as best as they could, but it was still men. Men who had been from many different Protestant religions and many different ways of being and understanding. And now God is having to use all these men who have all this understanding from all the cultures before them. And now God is having to teach these men new understandings, new stuff that was lost, new, and not new to God, but new to us. New things that these men did not have the understanding of. And so now they're having to translate it, and they're having to understand it in a way and teach it through words that sometimes defy, that sometimes, like, you cannot explain and put into words spiritual concepts and spiritual ways. It's something that has to be taught from the Spirit, through the Spirit, with the Spirit, to our spirit. And we know. And as we turn to God and we sit with him and we come to truly know our spirit, recognize who we are. Like, it's amazing. God has shown me who I am, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. It is amazing. I am amazing. You are amazing. And we have just received a lot of stuff that is keeping us from really being able to truly stand in all of our amazingness and who we are and who God has brought us into this world to be a voice for him, to have a relationship with him, not just know about him, but to walk with him, to live in his revelation, to have Jesus in our life. What an incredible thing that God has given us Jesus Christ to be our friend, to walk with, to talk with, to process all of our just crazy life experiences that we've had, to show us the thorns in our flesh, our weaknesses, to show us how to overcome these things so that they can become our strengths and so that we can stand up and we can testify of him boldly because he has done a miraculous work in our lives personally, not just as a concept, not just as a teaching, not just as this idea of love and of forgiveness and of compassion and peace and joy, not as this idea of something that we're going to have in the next life, but as to fully embody it, to walk in his spirit, to walk with him. That is my life today. That is my life today. And I am not perfect. I am not perfect by any means. I stumble, I fall, I'm not kind sometimes. I have thoughts that come in sometimes that I'm just like, ooh, I don't, help me. But I'm in constant conversation. You know, he talks about having a prayer in your heart. And I mean, when we invite him into our life and we are walking with him, I mean, he is just a part of all of our life. It's not like I have to stop and connect with him. I'm connected with him. He wants us to be connected with him 24/7, not just put him into a box with church. Like, okay, I'm going to go to church so that I can feel the spirit and so that I can connect with him. No, wake up. Go to sleep, walk through your day connected with him. Like, that is what he wants. And he wants that for us so much. We have to be still. I hear a lot of people say, I can't be still. My mind is going too much. I have too much to do. If that is you, he can show you. He can help you. He tells us to be still. If you cannot be still, what is it? What is it that is within you that is making you run, that is making you do, where you cannot be still, where if you get still, you're in all your thoughts. And you must not like your thoughts. I have been there. I have not liked my thoughts. And so what do we do? What do we do whenever, we have an opportunity to be still and our thoughts start thinking things? We start to feel things. We grab our phones. We grab a book. We go to Netflix. We do so many things. We grab a drug. We grab food. We just do so much stuff to not sit. And it's in the sitting where God is able to take us. God is able to take this vessel and he is able to cleanse it. He is able to purify it. He's able to show us the thoughts in our head that are incorrect, the thoughts in our head that are not him and that are not our spirit. That is not who we are and who we came here to be. Everything else are just voices, are recordings, are things that, like, we can be addicted to our thoughts. We can jump on a train and take off. And next thing you know, hours pass and you have created this whole thing within your mind that is false. That's not even true. That's not even relevant to anything. Because we're stuck in our thoughts. But if we make a space and we open ourselves up and we surrender and we allow God to start to show us all this stuff, we make room for him. We make room for him to guide us, to calm us, to help us to not feel rushed, not feel anxious, not be so depressed, to not want to constantly turn to our addictions. Like this past week, I felt very strongly I needed to disconnect from just listening to stuff all the time. And I'm so addicted. I am addicted to hearing, to constantly be learning. Like, I just love to learn. I love to bring in new thoughts, new concepts, new ideas. I love to just learn so much. And so I have not been perfect in it. I have majorly shifted from listening 24/7 to stuff. Well, it's not that bad. But for quite a few hours of my day, I would just spend listening to things. And so I want to continue that, but God is showing me that I need to separate from that, because that is another addiction within me. That is another thing that is taking up space in my mind, and that is not leaving my mind open to receiving from him, receiving directly from him. Like, it's amazing whenever we sit down and we just ask. Like, I'm in my Bible right now. I'm in Numbers. I'm reading the Bible all the way through, because I've never fully read the Bible all the way through in my life. I've read the Book of Mormon probably I don't know how many times all the way through. I've always read the Book of Mormon, and it would always take me to the Bible, and I've studied the Bible. I know the Bible. I've taken all the classes. I've taken seminary. Every 4 years we go through the Bible. So I know the Bible, but I've never read it from cover to cover. And so I've been in Numbers. And as I have read through Genesis and Exodus and Deuteronomy, was it Deuteronomy? What was before? I think. Whatever was that one. I have learned so much. I'll sit with these scriptures that I don't understand, with the way that God worked with his people during that time, but he shows me. And he's helping me to understand, and he's helping me to be able to relate it to my personal life today. And that is the way that he works. If, I for my whole life, I have loved my scriptures. And, there's always that I've learned that the iron rod is the word of God. And I have at times in my life wrapped myself around that iron rod, because like that was my lifeline to God, was being in his words. And so I can look over my life and I can see the seasons in my life where I just like held on to it for, I would read one verse, or I would read a chapter or a book, or, whatever the case may be. I was doing it to hold on to it, to hold on to what I could, because I would be going through so many different trials. I can see how that has been a good thing, that it has held me to him. But there is this part of it that is also, I have to read one verse. I got to at least stay in my scriptures and read one verse, or read, a chapter or whatever. And a lot of times we're just doing it. We're reading the words and they're not sinking in. They're not changing us. They're just, we got the check mark for that day that we did something, and they're meant to be a compass for us. They're meant to help, to guide us. They're a tool to bring us closer to God. Now, I recognize that, I can't remember if I said this already. I recognize that men wrote the Bible. Like, they received inspiration, they received revelation, they received words from God, and they put it into language to teach us things. But it was still being filtered. It's still coming through man to us. And our Bibles have been translated and gone through so many hands. I mean, there are just thousands of different interpretations of the Bible. And so we can all understand it so differently. And so we have to have the gift of discernment. We have to be connected to God to understand what it is that He is wanting us to understand through these words. They are a compass. They are a spiritual tool and book that as we read the words in the book, He's able to flow revelation into our life in the spaces between those words. That is amazing to me, because I've experienced that my whole life, where He teaches me as I take the time to truly be in the scriptures, to learn from Him and of Him, and not just to be reading it for a check mark that I read my scriptures today, but to truly ask for guidance. Like, it really is a miraculous thing. So this is where I am in my life right now. I feel as though I'm just in this deconstruction process, and where He's bringing things to my understanding. He is, like I said, He is taking the scales off of my eyes. He is helping me to see things more clearly, and He's helping me to hear things more clearly. I have, it's been a few years that I've been going through this, and so I've been very aware, and the Spirit really pings me and helps me to see and understand whenever I'm listening to people at the podium speaking. There are times where I hear things that are of man, and that they are teaching things that is not true. And that can be very challenging, because there is an audience of people who are taking in those words that are not true, and they are incorporating them into their life and into their being, and we're doing things from a place of just false teachings, and it creates within us this thing, because we want to be obedient to the church. We want to be obedient to what we're being taught and told. Yet God And the Spirit and our intuition and our knowing is like, no, 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 no. But because we are so devoted, so dedicated, so enmeshed, so culturally following, doing this certain way, we will ignore that because we think, I'm being disobedient to the church if I do this. And I question that. And there's just so many things that we learn that keep us disconnected, truly disconnected from God. He needs us to break that. He needs us to see. He needs us to understand what it is that is within the church that is not of him. And that is something that only we can do for ourselves, that only we can ask to be shown, and we do things differently. And as more people truly, truly surrender to God, surrender to the Spirit, give their life to God, truly give our life and our time and our mental space, our mental energy, just everything to God, pursue him, make space in your life and in your body for him to come into, we're going to continue to be in all of these ways that is just disconnecting us from him. And I'm so grateful. I am so grateful for all of it. I'm grateful for being born into this way of understanding life, and I'm so grateful that God is bringing me through this rebirthing process. Truly, when we turn to Jesus Christ, we are reborn. We just are. He gives us new eyes. He gives us a new heart. He gives us a new life. He gives us the eyes to see, the ears to hear. He does that. And then he can sift through all of the things, and he can show us what does not align with him. I'm just so grateful to have this knowledge and to have this awareness today. And I still question. Because I have such deep, deep things within me that is like, don't question. Even though we've never been told that. I've never been told to not question things. We have always been. Joseph Smith, the one who who through him the church was founded. It all began with him questioning and asking. And so I don't know why I get so nervous and fearful to ask the questions and to see. And I think it's because we're afraid of what we're going to be shown, because we're comfortable in how we've always been. And if I'm shown something different, then something different has to happen. I have to do things different. And that is uncomfortable because I'm so used to being this way. That is uncomfortable. It just is. It's comfortable being in unawareness. It just is. To go with the crowd, to be like everyone else, to think a certain way, to be a certain way, it's just comfortable. And so whenever we start asking the questions and we start really wanting to know God, I have not been like, show me everything wrong with my church. Show me all this stuff. That has not been my intent. That has not been, but God, because it's been such a huge part of my life, because it is who I have always been. He's having to show me these things. And he's making them aware, like making these things, I'm aware of them, so that they can fall away. So it starts with recognizing that maybe, possibly, everything that we have thought, what if everything that we think we know is true, what if some is not? And God is the only one that can show us individually. I could sit here and I can make a list and I could show everybody, like, culture, what is culture and what is Christ. And if that is what God wants me to do, I will do that. I am following him. I want to be a voice for him. I want to speak truth. I want to learn truth. I want to bring truth into this world. I want to be a vessel for him. And so whatever he wants me to do is what I will do. I still am like, what am I doing? But I'm overcoming a lot of stuff to follow him. And I'm so grateful that he is showing me the way. And I invite everybody out there to gain your own relationship with him, to do whatever it is that he shows you that you need to do to have a relationship with him. Whenever I went through that period of time where I hit rock bottom, and I personally, and I'm not saying anybody else has to do this, this was just my personal experience and my path, I had to step away from the organization, from the culture, from everything that I had been told and taught. I had to disconnect from that so that I could just hear God. Just like he's doing with me right now with social media and stuff. I just need to hear from him. I had to step away from church. I had to step away from going to the temple. For 3 years of my life, I went to church. I was at church under a tree. I was at church on my balcony. I was at church more than I had ever been in my life. It was just a different way. And I had to have that experience to disconnect me, to separate me from all of the program, all of everything that I knew, so that he could bring me to where he wanted me to be. And so after 3 years, after like a 3-year period of time, I felt like it's time to go back. It's time to return to church. It's time to return to the temple. And I went and I served in the temple. I helped with, I was a worker in the temple. And I learned so much. He taught me and he showed me so much during, I think I served for like 2 years as an ordinance worker and as a shift coordinator, and being able to be part of organizing and helping people and training, and just so much within the temple that he taught me so much about who I am and showed me so much of what the temple is about. And we can get caught up in the performance of it and going through almost like cattle, almost like just totally unaware of even what we're doing. We just go because we go, and we're doing this and we're doing these things, and and we totally miss what is happening. We totally miss it because everything is spiritual, symbolic. And if we're just there in the flesh and we're just there doing the things that is done in the temple, we completely miss the symbolism. We completely miss the spiritual, what God is trying to teach us. There's just so much. There's so much that I don't know. There's so much more that I know that God is in the process of showing me and teaching me. And I look back at, like, I've been doing videos. I've been recording now for over 2 years. My brother and I started on our own YouTube channel, and I started mine probably like 6 to 8 months after he and I had been recording. And so I can look back over the past 2 years or so, whenever we first started, and if I were to pull up videos from then and some of the things that I probably said, I have changed. I have grown. Like, I could probably do reaction videos to myself and correct myself in a lot of things. And that's the beautiful thing about this life and about growth and experience, is that we're constantly gaining more. And God is constantly showing us more truth. And he is, whenever we give ourselves to him to hear it, to know it, and we want it, he will. We just have to be willing to ask, and he will show us. So I encourage everybody, I invite everybody out there to slow down. Slow down, be still, invite God into your life. Invite Jesus into your life. Invite the Spirit. They're there. But we have to be open to them and surrender to them and make room and space for them to be in our life, and get rid of all of the distraction. Remove things from your life. If you have no space in your life and in your mind and in your time for them, I would offer that you sit with that and you find ways to make space for them, because they will change your life. They will show you what to get rid of in your life. And if you don't, you will continue. You will continue in the ways that you've always been and doing the things that you've always done. And the programs will continue to run you, and you will be comfortable. And that is fine too, if that is the life you want. But God wants a life so much bigger and so much better, so much more abundant, so much more peaceful, so much more filled with love and gratitude and just calmness. Like, he wants so much for us, and so many of us are so blind to it because we are following a program. We are following the ways that we have learned from man and from this world, and we have to disconnect from it. We have to disconnect from this world for just, even if it's 5 minutes. Give yourself 5 minutes, start there. I could sit for hours. I could move into a cave. I could move into my closet and be perfectly content. But I know that that's not what God wants for me in my life. I have not been called to sit in caves. Some people have, I have not. I have been called to sit with him and to bring him into this world. And that is what I have done for the many years, is I have been sitting with him, allowing him to do the process, allowing him to do what only he can do. We can help. We can surrender to it. We can learn to pray. We can be in our scriptures to understand his language, to understand how he speaks to us. Like, we can do something, but only he can take this clay that we are, and only he can mold us into what he wants us to be in this life. We cannot. Our own control, our own way is not his way. I know that today. I know that today. I love that I have had 51 years of life to look back on, to see. He has brought me to this point where I can see so clearly today. I can look back on my life. I love that I was born into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I love my foundation. I love even a lot of the stuff that people think are crazy that we believe in. I love it. I love that God gives us more and more understanding about things. It makes sense to me. So much stuff makes sense to me that might not make sense to other people. And until God shows me differently, until he reveals to me something that maybe something is false, which he is doing now with me, then I have core beliefs within me that I believe, I have faith in, I have trust in, I have a knowing within me of truth. And there are some core things within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that I believe, I trust, I have faith that they are of Christ, that they are of Jesus, that they are his gospel to bring us closer to him. But I also recognize there's a whole lot of stuff that keeps us disconnected, that keeps us so busy in our self-righteousness that it keeps us from him and his righteousness. And so I think that it's just very important as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in today's world and where we are, that we look, because we can look at the past, we can see the past 200 years and where the church has come to and where the people as a collective, as a group are, where there are some false things that are just being perpetuated and is being taught to our children, and that's continuing to be spoken at the podium, that is perpetuating things that are keeping us disconnected from God. I think is just so important for everybody to connect to God. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect in it and that I've got this big secret thing and that I'm doing. He wants all of us to connect with him. He wants all of us to walk with Jesus, to talk with him, to bring him into our lives daily, hourly, minute by minute. It's just a beautiful thing. And as we do that, we will be Zion people. We will be Zion. We will be ready to receive him. We're not ready to receive him because he's not even in our lives. How can he be part of our life whenever we're so caught up in this world and doing all of these things that are like the children of Israel and the law of Moses? We're so focused on the letters of the law and all of this that we're not focused on the Spirit and Jesus Christ. He came to this world to free us from all of that, and he wants us to connect to him. So I could talk about this for hours. I mean, truly, there's just so much to it that he's opening my eyes to, and I'm so grateful. So grateful. And I just pray that everybody will just have that relationship with him so that we can be a people who are ready to receive him, and that we aren't like, yeah, I love Jesus. I have a testimony of him. Like, he has changed my life and he continues to change my life, and I'm so grateful for that. So Invite him into your life so he can change your life too and show you all the things within you that are false. Because I think it's individual. We all learn differently. We all have different experiences. It's all different. And so we each just have to learn what is right and wrong that God shows us in our lives. And it's not even like, I don't know. There's a lot. There's so much that God continues to show me. So thank you for being here with me. This is a journey and it's ongoing, and I love where God is bringing me, and I look forward to what he is going to continue to do with me, with this YouTube channel, with so much in my life. I'm just so grateful. So thank you for being here with me. And oh, this was a long one. Thank you if you stayed this whole time, thank you. Let me know, because I'm so curious who would listen to. I listen to long podcasts, so I know people do. But thanks for being here. Until next time.